I'm not a confrontational person, but recently I was put in a situation where I forced myself to confront someone. I went to a dinner, and I had ridden my bike to a dinner. Sorry, what was that, ma'am? An environmental hero, thank you very much. And I went to this dinner, and I left the dinner, we finished up, and I was walking back to where the bikes were parked, and I don't know if it was something in this crab bisque that I had. But I saw a guy hunched over these bikes, going at this bike with a bolt cutter, like going at the chain, and I'm like, I'm not great in this situation. I'm going to confront. It's not my normal frame of mind. I normally don't confront people, but at this point I'm like, I'm going to confront this guy. I'm going to say something. I'm going to walk up to him and stop him dead in his tracks, right? And I walked up with all the adrenaline and excitement of this. I walked right up to the guy, and this is my move, right? I was full of adrenaline and courage at that point in time, and then I leaned over this guy, and as I leant over to say something, like, I hadn't thought of what I was meant to say, and just Grant came out, and this was my move. I just gently breathed down his neck. That's all, just a little, just like, that's it, right? What a fucking move, brilliant. Of course I did that move, and he looked around to me and was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I've made such a terrible mistake, I will go home now and rethink my life choices. That's what he did. Of course he did that, went back home, like, rethought his life choices, decided to rejoin uni and finish that social work degree he started 3 years ago, like, reconnected with his son Garrett, who he hasn't seen in 4 years. Exercises more, joins an ultimate frisbee team. Like, it's not a real sport, but like, it's exercise, you know? And then like 2 years later starts an online business selling alpaca wool clothing. He calls it Pack of Thieves, you know, because of the pun. Like, it fails as a business, right? But he's such a better person now that he's like, it's not a failure, it's just a learning. It's just a learning, right? Yeah, he didn't do any of that. He just finished cutting the bolts, finished cutting the chain on the fucking bike, right? At this point, next move in my arsenal, right? Because he's finishing the chain, I just leaned over even further. Again, Grant came out and I just did this. You've never heard this move, I just went... And then he stops. The chain falls to the ground, he stops. Notices me. And then he looks at the bike, he's like... Is this your bike? I'm like, yeah, it's my bike. Didn't you feel my breath down your neck, dude? And this is where, like, at that point in time I'd got him, right? And he should have just, like, you know, apologised, stormed in the night, he's caught red-handed, right? But what he did then, I couldn't help but be impressed. Like, I couldn't help but be impressed by his confidence, because at that point in time he stopped again, looked at me, looked at the bike, and he's like, do you mind if I borrow it for a couple of hours? Yeah, you've cut the chain off, bro. It's practically a fucking O-bike now. Just ride it around the city, then throw it in the creek near my house when you're done. No, you can't borrow the bike, right? And at that point, I think I got him, caught him red-handed, but then he did a fucking beautiful move at that point. Instead of just stealing off into the night, he just looks at me again, and then looks at the bike, he's like, and just goes, well, it's a shit bike anyway, I don't want it, the brakes are fucked, the tyres are flat, fucking just kicks it and then casually strolls off into the night. Which is beautiful, and as I'm riding home at that point in time, 3 things were going through my mind. The first thing is like, you know, a thief in broad daylight, how dare he? How dare this person, you know, just try and do that to people, steal bikes? But the second thought was like, hey, yeah, he was a thief, but he had so much confidence in himself with these answers. And, you know, maybe I can take a little lesson from him and, like, apply more confidence in my life, and maybe I can get more stuff done in my life, just being a little bit more confident. And the third thing that was going through my mind, ladies and gentlemen, was, I don't know whose fucking bike this is, but that guy was right. The tyres are flat, the brakes don't work. Rode around the city for a couple of hours and then threw it in the creek when I was done. I was the thief there. You don't look surprised. Alright, my name's Firdi, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you very much.